Hey, good morning. It's good to see you. I'm so excited to talk to you this morning. Thank you for coming. Today is a really important day in history. And it isn't just because it's front. Today is the 75th anniversary of the invasion of Normandy, D-Day. And something that's really interesting is they landed on Utah Beach. I thought how neat it is that we are here, that you're here in Utah today on the 75th anniversary when the Allied forces stormed the beach in Normandy. And this is the photo that you see so often when you think about it. When those boats stormed the beach, they all jumped out. That's what most of us think about when we think about D-Day. But there's another story that prepared the way for them, that made that possible, that we don't hear about as often. And I want to tell you that story today. Where is Utah Beach? Well, take a look at the map. It's the northern coast of France, right there on the edge of that little peninsula. Coming down from the northeast is Utah Beach. Here's another map. You see that little blue arrow that's pointing there? That's it. To prepare the way for that amphibious attack, there was one of the largest air maneuvers in World War history. There were over 13,000 paratroopers and over 4,000 paragliders that dropped from the sky to fight those that were on the ground so that when the amphibious attack came, they could make the progress and they could succeed. The paratroopers coming in, or the Airborne Attack, was the first American combat operation that was part of this larger scale initiative. And they had some very strategic milestones. They were to secure bridges, road junctions, and other key terrain that would enable that the arrival of their comrades at the beach. All throughout 1943, they spent planning this mission. Almost an entire year went into this plan. And then for 2 entire months, through April and May of 1944, they rehearsed and practiced as much as they could, dropping again and again thousands and thousands of people out of these planes, trying to figure it out. And you know what? Trying to figure out how best to pull off the mission. And you know what's interesting? They had very little experience. Most of those that were jumping out of these planes had never even seen combat. And in fact, there was one of them that was just a transport group. They were not even trained to fight. But they were willing, and they prepared, and they were ready to go. And eventually, the time came. But this mission was going to be extremely difficult because they had to go under the cloak of night with only the moon to light their way. And in order to not be detected by the Germans, they were not able to use their radios. And so arriving on those drop zones, in that map that you saw, there were little circles that they had designated that were the exact locations that they needed to land. But it was difficult because they encountered wind, ground fog, significant malfunctions with their lights, and these beacons that they had placed on the ground. And in the airplanes, 60% of them didn't even have navigators. And so the pilot was having to do all of the navigation entirely on their own. But 13,000 paratroopers dropping from the sky. And guess what? Almost every single one of them missed the drop zones. If you look at this map here and you see those circles, this is the 82nd Airborne Division. This is the 101st Airborne Division. All those little dots missing those ovals. It appeared at first that a military disaster had occurred. And it appeared that the objectives were not going to be achieved, that all of that planning was lost. But within hours, the original military objectives were being accomplished by ad hoc units that faced tremendous resistance from the Germans. Why? This is why. General Eisenhower. Yes, the plan was a failure, but good commander's intent and superior training allowed improvisation and the initiative to save the mission. Commander's intent is the description and definition of what a successful mission will look like. Military planning begins with the mission statement that describes the who, when, where, and why of how a mission will be executed. Commander's intent describes how the commander envisions the battlefield at the conclusion of the mission. It shows what success will look like. They knew what success will look like. And it doesn't matter if the path to get there changed. They knew their objective. Commander's intent fully recognizes the chaos, the lack of complete information picture, changes in the enemy situation, and other relevant factors that may make a plan completely or partially obsolete when it's executed. The role of the commander's intent is to empower subordinates and guide their initiative and improvisation as they adapt the plan to the changed battlefield environment. Commander's intent is vital in chaotic, demanding, and dynamic environments. That is why they succeeded. That is the role of and the work of a successful leader. So today, let's talk about product. We've got a room full of some of the best and brightest minds in product management and user experience design and research. It's 2019. By now, we've figured it out. We all know how good products are designed. It's easy, right? They're autonomous, co-located, cross-functional. They're co-led by a product manager, a designer, and an engineering lead. They're guided by clear, ambitious product vision and strategic themes. You're all doing this, right? Every single one of you. They inspire, align, and measure with objectives and key results. We all use job stories to articulate customer situations, motivation, and outcomes. We talk to and test with customers or potential customers at least once a week, right? Construct short roadmaps of outcomes instead of features, correct? And we build, measure, and learn, right? Successful product teams have vision that feeds our strategic themes from which we write our objectives and our key results that then guide the experiments that we do, and then we release products to the world. It looks kind of like this. This is what a product team should look like, right? A room full of Post-it notes. This is how it's done. So, today, in the next 20 minutes I'm going to tell you some stories about how we're doing this at Workfront, where we failed, where we've succeeded, and what we've learned, and how we make it through the battle, even when we encounter fog and resistance. If you don't know about Workfront, we're giving away apple pies, but Workfront helps people do their best work. We are an enterprise work management platform. We are a large-scale enterprise SaaS product. It takes a lot of work and a lot of people to build something that large. We have 3 development groups, over 300 people in 3 different locations. Here in Utah is our headquarters. We also have a group in Poland, and we also have a group in Armenia. We're winding down the Poland group. We used to have about 70 people there. Now it's about 15. But we have 100 employees in an office in Armenia. And all of these employees in our R&D department are grouped into cross-functional, co-located product teams. We've got about 22 of those today, but I'm going to start the story 2 years ago when we didn't have quite as many. We had about 18 or so, 19 or so of them, and each one of those product teams are led by what we call the trio: product manager, a UX lead, and an engineering lead. So, check. We're doing good so far, right? We've got a lot of work to do still on the others. I came in 2 years ago to Workfront to build the user experience team and to help us to strengthen our product department. I came in, and after only a week, I said, all right, guys, OKRs, job stories, talk to customers every week, let's go. Let's go. Do you think it worked the first day? No. We struggled a lot with these teams. One of the things that we learned right out of the gate is even though we were checking the boxes on what is known as how a proper team should be structured, every single one of these teams were too autonomous. They were too siloed. See, at Workfront, we don't have lots of separate products. We are one large platform. We've got 22 different product teams. Think of that. That's a Amazon-style 2-pizza team. You know, add up the numbers. That's a lot of people building a single product. And every single one of them was siloed. We had very little communication, very little collaboration. And in fact, these seams that you see, you can see them in our product, and you can feel it when you use our product. So one of the first things that we did is we reorganized that. And it took us about 6 months of planning to figure out the right way to do this. But we reorganized our teams into portfolios. And at Workfront, we're really passionate about how work gets done. And we serve how you plan work, how you execute work, how you measure the work, how you administer the work. And so we organized our portfolios to support each one of those initiatives, not features. It's all about how that phase of the work gets done. And that team is aligned with everything that they do to deliver on that, to understand the market, the business, the ROI, how we're going to bring money into money to the business and new sales to the business, is all around how they're going to do that. And each one of those collections of cross-functional product teams is led by a portfolio leadership. Again, a product manager, a UX designer, a lead engineer, and we added a fourth, so we call it a quad. It's a product marketer. And the reason is it doesn't matter how good your product is if you can't bring it to market. And so that is all led by the product leadership team, where we have our VP of product, VP of UX, VP of engineering, and VP of product marketing. So we assembled that team, continued to work on these things, and as I said, I walked in the first day and I said, hey, autonomous teams, here's what we're going to do. Sincerely, Wade. And you might be thinking, well, of course that's not going to work, Wade. You've got to tell them why. Well, I did. It's still not enough. Why is that? People don't like being told what to do. My kids don't. Team members don't. Nobody likes being told what to do. Steve Jobs says you don't hire great people and tell them what to do. You hire great people so that they can tell you what to do. We want results. Why is it that we have adopted these practices, assembling teams this way, these co-located teams, writing job stories, going talking to customers, doing product discovery and research the way that we do? Why? Because we want results. Well, how do we get results? You have to do something, right? Before you're going to get results, you've got to do. The team's got to work. They've got to plan. They got to execute. And that's how you get results, is you take action. Well, why is it that you take action? You take action based off of what you believe. The team believes something. You've got to have a goal in mind. You've got to have a dream or a feeling that's going to guide you to something. I want to give credit to partners in leadership for this. They taught our team this model, and it's called the results pyramid. And this has radically changed the way that we work at Workfront. Because if you want results, and it requires it requires actions. And if you want to empower and get someone to move and to take action, they have to believe in it. And the only way they are ever going to believe is if they have an experience that creates that belief. Let me read another quote for you. Executives and managers complain that they don't understand why people don't take initiative. How many of you that lead teams have scratched your head and say, man, I just don't get it. Why don't people move? Why don't they do that? I asked them to do it, or it's obvious to do it, and they don't do it. Why? Because their followers know nothing else but how to follow, never to lead. They live in fear of making the wrong decision. Have you ever imagined that your team's afraid of making the wrong decision? Or any decision for that matter. Hence, indecision is the result. The outcome that causes the most frustration and dysfunction for all, leaders can actually gain more control by taking their hands off the wheel and allowing those employees closest to the situation to make decisions at speed and take accountability for their results. For endless breakthroughs to be achieved, they simply need to provide intent and direction, and then get out of the way as people solve challenges in front of them in ways that are best aligned to the intent they have been provided. The role of leadership is to provide context for what is to be achieved and why that matters, and then create a system of work that enables people to identify how to achieve those desired outcomes based on the best actions in their current context under their own control. Sorry, I know that was a long quote. So let's talk about process. How is it done? At Workfront, this is the process that we have identified. We wanted to empower our team. But what's interesting is we've tried to roll this out is we had many people that had never worked this way before. And so for us to just say, go, ideate, do it. What if they don't know how? What if your team doesn't know how to develop? Like, that's such a broad bucket. And also, if we've got these autonomous teams that are working, what if they're all working differently? We need predictability as a business. So, what steps happen? How are the requirements communicated? How are we able to achieve predictability? At Workfront, we call our experiment template or our project brief, we call it an epic one-pager. When is it used? How is it used? We told the team, write job stories. What if you've never written a job story before? What if one team's writing one way, especially one that's in Armenia on the other side of the world? What styles of stories are being used? The conundrum of process is that we all need some, but too much can be lethal. The more aligned your team is, the less process you need. This is from Scott Belsky in The Messy Middle. He says, you install process for your team, not for you. Spend more time on achieving alignment than imposing process. And audit your process frequently and always try to cut them down. That first one, I think, is one of the biggest mistakes that leaders make. Installing process for themselves because they want to know what's going on and they want to control it instead of designing something that will help the team. So let's go back to our portfolios here at Workfront that are led by these quads, these cross-functionally leading teams. What do they need? What is the right amount of process and support for them? So we sat down, and instead of telling them what to do, because nobody wants to be told what to do, we did realize that we need to guide them. We need to set some expectations. So we drew up this document. I know you can't read it because it's too small, so here's what it says at the high level. We told them you need to meet regularly as a leadership team. You need to define your portfolio vision. You need to define, track, evangelize, and hold your portfolio accountable to your success metrics. You need to define and communicate portfolio level OKRs, and you need a monthly portfolio review and a quarterly business review. It has been tremendous to see how these portfolios have taken that and blossomed and grown. We gave them a little bit of direction. We held them accountable. We set good expectations and then let them figure out the rest. We still have a major challenge that we're working on because we broke down all the silos between each one of those individual product teams. We moved ourselves into these portfolios, but we still now, and so we are breaking down that inside of the product, but still across the major initiatives inside of the product, we still have work to do. We're still figuring that out. We have implemented a design system. We've spun up a design ops and a DevOps team, and we are making substantial progress. We're getting rid of the seams between, and the teams are really, really excited. Their work is changing and progressing. I now want to tell you a few other little stories. As part of our Epic one-pager that defines our plan, what is our assumption and our hypothesis, and where we write job stories, we had decided to help communicate that we need to put a link to an Envision project in there. And nobody was doing it. So I was having a conversation with Chris Higley in Slack, and he was saying, hey, do we really need it to be there? And I said, we need this now. This should be simple. Just like the design review, it shouldn't be more complicated than screenshots. Basically, I just said, just do it. Is that a good way to tell people to get something done? He's like, why does this need to be done? Does it really need to be done, Wade? And I said, just do it. No, that's not a good way. And you know what's interesting? Is a year later, we had this cultural exercise where we got people from all the different disciplines in the same room, and we asked them what's going well and not going well with the different groups. And communication was a major challenge between design and engineering. And we empowered each one of the teams to go and come up with a way to communicate dev-ready stuff for engineering and where the project is at. And you know what they came up with? An Envision link in the Epic one-pager. Why did it succeed? It's because I didn't tell them to do it. That's why. Next one I want to tell you about is dailies. I learned this from Nate Walkingshaw. Dailies is a pretty awesome thing, and it's also from Jacob Burdish. On my 5th day at Workfront, I started a new Slack channel, #dailies. And I sent out a note to the team, and I said, hey, everybody, we're going to do this awesome thing, and here's why it's awesome. I even quoted from articles about how reflection is such a powerful thing. What it is every day somebody jumps into that channel, and they say, here's what I accomplished, here's the obstacles I countered, and here's what I learned. And the team dragged themselves in there, and they did it for 1 or 2 days, and nobody did it. You know what's interesting? After shutting that down, a year later, guess what we're doing? We're doing something called Design in the Open. And it came from the team. And they're doing it in Slack. And they post in there, here's what I'm working on. Here's what I'm learning. Here's obstacles I encountered. Here's where I'd like your feedback. Why is it working? Because I didn't just walk in and tell them, do this. I told them why to do it. why designing is important. I taught them the principles, and they went and they came up with that on their own. So let's talk a little bit about vision and outcome. I wanted to just show you a few screens here from our product. This is something that we're working on right now. We're trying to solve some pretty gnarly navigation problems. And in here in the product, there we go. In here in the product, we had made some decisions really early on about how we were going to move forward with the product. And the team got really frustrated because we had to move on. And I said, we've got to make a decision and just move. We will learn from that. And we kept going and we kept going, and as we did, we eventually learned. But the power as you saw, these gain higher and higher fidelity as they moved along. The thing that we learned is the thing that the team has come up with and tested and iterated on is what is succeeding. And so it's all about teaching them and allowing them to learn as part of the journey. So how do you effectively communicate vision? Use more than metaphors, examples, and descriptive terms. Tell a story. Foster an experience. Describe the outcomes, not the solution. Evoke emotion. And lastly, I just wanted to show you something really neat that we've done with design critique. So our biggest challenge of our teams is not that it's big, it's that we are distributed across the world. Time zones is our biggest challenge. And so as our team has grown from 10 to 15 to 20, we started doing virtual design reviews. And we did them online to be able to bridge the distance. And the team struggled with it. You can see here, we started off, 68% or 86% of the team marked theirs off, but nobody came back and left comments. And by the way, this screen right here is from our product. We're eating our own dog food. We have this incredible tool inside Workfront that allows you to annotate any sort of media, even video, and comment it. And it's perfect for this. But the team wasn't doing it. And do you know why? They didn't use it because of this. Let me show you. Look how it grew. Check this out. As the team grew, suddenly we had 18 members of the team. Right here, you can see this. And imagine if everybody was recording a 5-minute video and you had to go in and you had to watch every one of those and then leave a comment on it and then answer somebody's question and their response throughout the day. It just was unsustainable. So what we did is we came back in and we took these teams inside of our user experience team and we had them continue holding their in-person design critiques. And at the end of them, instead of holding a virtual design critique, they record a summary video. And it has been amazing since we've done that. And my last few screens here, I just wanted to show you, this is us using our product, the teams recording these videos. We leave comments, we ask questions, we annotate, and it is just a beautiful experience. It has created a culture for us that has allowed us to succeed. So, in conclusion, your team is about to jump out of an airplane. I want you, whether you are leading the team or you're a member in the airplane waiting for the door to open, make sure that you and your team understand the mission and that you understand what success looks like, so that no matter what you encounter, you will be able to regroup and improvise on the fly. My team just jumped. It wasn't quite out of an airplane. We went to an indoor wind tunnel in Texas, but they skydived and we did it. And we have an absolutely amazing culture that we have developed by implementing these principles. And I'll leave you with my last thing that I say at the end of every talk is the only way to win is to learn faster than anyone else. Thank you.
Okay, well, awesome. So Thank you, everyone, for asking questions in Slack. This has worked out great. Thank you, Wade, for the awesome presentation. So we'll jump right into it. Joseph Hoover asks, how do you overcome corporate or business management culture that isn't conducive to people taking initiative?
Quit and find a new job. I'm mostly serious. I have people ask me all the time, how can I change the culture at my company? Or how can we get executives bought into design? And you mostly can't. You can't change their mind. But then I follow up that comment with, that makes people laugh, is the best way you can is to speak their language and to show results. So go find out what it is that motivates them. For most executives, it's numbers and results and dollars. So you have to communicate to them in their language. So don't ask for permission. Go take an initiative and show that you can change something about the business through product design, through good product discovery, through the customers. If you can make that change, they'll listen.
Cool. Wonderful. So Carlos asks, how is the Epic one paper used after it's made? Where does it live?
Awesome. Great question. So this is a place where I'm happy to admit to you we're not that good at, and we're trying to build this muscle. The Epic one-pager is supposed to be a living document. Today, a lot of times it's written and it's stagnant. So where does it live? Are you wondering where we actually house that? We actually put that file in Workfront. We use Workfront to manage our work. So that document is put in there, but it is supposed to be a living document where the team goes back and updates that with the learning. So they write job stories, they make a plan, they set benchmarks and metrics to determine if the project is going to be successful. As they're measuring those things, they're supposed to be going back into the one-pager and updating that along the way, saying, here's what we learned, here's how we're pivoting, here's the change we're going to make, here's our new hypothesis, and we're going to go back out and test again.
Cool.
Hopefully that's what you're looking for.
Danielle asks, how important is it that your portfolio quads share the same success metrics? What does it look like for product, UX, etc.?
Awesome question. So at first I thought you were asking if the different portfolios had the same metrics. We all share some common overarching product metrics, but the different portfolios have different metrics because they have the different parts of the product, the different phases of work they're working on. So those are different, but it sounds like what you're asking is the different disciplines within the individual quad. That's critical that they do. You can't have UX having their own priorities. You can't have product management having their own initiatives and their own goals. They have to be paired up. They are, I don't know what you'd call Siamese twins with four people, a four-headed beast or something, but they literally have to be locked, arm in arm, motivated by the same things, having the same goals and desires in order to be successful.
Awesome. Okay, we got one last question.
Okay.
Were any problems with reporting structure brought up? If so, what were they when it came to reporting accountability? I believe that's what Jeff's trying to ask.
No, not really any problems. So we have each discipline reports up through their discipline at Workfront. And so, for example, in the UX organization, the designers that are inside of one of the portfolios, their line manager is the UX manager for that portfolio. So the manager of the portfolio is a player coach. They're both leading the portfolio, and then they're also the manager for those designers, setting goals with them, teaching, coaching them, and working side by side with them.
Okay.
And it's very similar in product management and engineering. It's not identical because engineering is so much bigger. They've got a couple extra layers in there, but generally it follows the same model.
Wonderful. Let's give Wade another round of applause.
Thank you.
And